Okay, so we are now going to be covering lesson 3-4 on page 100. So today's lesson is all about check, register, reconciliation. So first we need to begin by talking about this word reconciliation. So in banking or in money management, reconciliation means to agree. So in this lesson, we are going to try to get our check register, which is a record that we keep of the money coming in and out of our account. We want it to have the same number as our bank statement provided by the bank each month. Okay, so the reason why it wouldn't agree would be problems like errors, which we'll talk about at the end of this lesson, and then things that are outstanding. Okay, so things that are outstanding have not cleared. So the opposite of outstanding is cleared. So two things could be outstanding in a bank statement or check register. So if a check is outstanding, then the money has not officially, on record, left your account. This could be because someone is holding on to the check. That's the most likely. It could be because it was a large amount and the bank will take a few days to clear the check through. But most likely it's someone is holding on to your check. So you want to be sure that people have cashed your checks, especially if it's a large amount like rent, so that you don't keep spending the money that you don't have and then later come up short. So the other thing that could be outstanding is deposits. And that's when the money has not officially entered your account. Now, the reason that this could be an issue is if you think you got a paycheck of $3,000, but it actually hasn't cleared into your account yet, and then you spend like the money is in it, then you could end up falling short again and being charged overdraft fees. And overdraft fees can be anywhere from $30 a day to $100 a day, just depending on your account. So you want to make sure that you are not overspending without enough money in your account or spending the money that's not actually there. So the first thing we're going to be doing is reconciling our check register and then reconciling our bank account to be sure that we know how to do both of them. And then we're going to combine them together. So I'm going to put the formulas together for bank statements and check registers, and then we're going to do them separately and then come back to them together. So the first thing that we are reconciling is our bank statement, and then our check register. Okay, so for our bank statements, we're going to start with a closing balance. This is the amount of money that was in our account last month, or the last time that the bank calculated it all for us. Okay, so once we have our closing balance, we are going to add in any outstanding deposits and we are going to subtract any outstanding checks. Now we need to recognize that to get this closing balance, the bank has already done a lot of work for us. And if you look at page 101, they show all of the work that goes into that closing balance. But they're just going to give us the closing balance, and we are going to go from there. So once you have added the outstanding deposits, subtracted the outstanding checks, also either subtract or add any errors, which we'll talk about in a minute, then we are going to end up with a reconciled amount. Okay, so taking that, let's go ahead and solve A. So it says Maria's bank statement showed a closing balance of $1,383.53. No outstanding deposits, so I'm just going to put a line so I know there's no deposits, and 2 outstanding checks. So I'm going to subtract out 129.45 and 87.39. So my reconciled amount is $1,166.69. Okay, and that's all that they're asking for right now. So then let's go ahead and do B. And there is a reason why I'm doing all of this vertical rather than horizontal. So you want to solve vertical for now because this will help as we continue in this lesson. So B says Xavier had a closing balance of $793.57. He had an outstanding deposit, so we're going to add that, of $312.09, and a outstanding check, 2 outstanding checks for $174.85 and $32.78. So what is his reconciled amount? Sorry, hold on. Messed up in my calculator. So we have a reconciled amount of $898.03. And this amount is how much is actually in his account. It's just not recognized by the bank yet. So that's how much available money he has to spend. It'll just take a few days for these outstanding checks and outstanding deposits to hit. Now, this brings up a really good point that if you're holding on to a check, that's outstanding for someone else. So it's really important that you spend the money that people give you so that they don't have to worry about it in their register or in their bank account. So make sure that you're respectful and depositing checks in a very timely manner. Okay, so then let's go back up and let's talk about our check register. So this is what we are recording. So we know about the outstanding deposits and the outstanding checks because we're the ones who wrote the check and made the deposits. So we're going to start with a balance. Okay, and from there we are going to subtract any service charges because we won't know about those until at the end of the month. And then we are going to add our interest earned. Okay, and from there we get our reconciled amount. Okay, so I'm just going to do the next problems right next to it. So let's do C right here. Mildred's previous check register balance was $727.92. Her bank statement showed a service charge. We're going to subtract that of $18.90, and interest earned, add that in, of $1.60. So what is her ending amount? So she ended with $710.62 reconciled. Okay, let's go ahead and do D as well, even though this is pretty easy. Should be easy. So Ludwig had a balance of $457.38. His account does not pay interest, so we're not going to add anything. We're just going to subtract out the service charge of $768. So $449.70. Okay, this next part I think is kind of tricky. It's not hard math, it's just hard to figure out what you should do. So sometimes there are reconciliation problems, and this is where things have been recorded incorrectly, and you have to figure out how to solve the problem. Now, the easiest way to tell what the mistake was to write what was recorded and then what should have been. So, for instance, if it was recorded in our bank statement that we made a deposit of $38.72, but we should have made a deposit, or it should have been, because this is actually what it was, it should have been $83.72. What we're going to do is we're going to start by finding the difference every time. So the difference between these two was, bigger number, subtract the smaller number, $45. We then need to ask ourselves, what was recorded? Was that enough? Or was that too much? And what do we do with the difference? So in this case, what was recorded in the bank was $38.72. It should have been $83. Therefore, we're going to add in an extra $45. And that is back up here, the errors right here. The errors could be on this side as well. Oops. Okay, so it's not just on the bank statement. So you'll see where this comes into play in just a minute, but I just wanted to point that out, that this is probably the trickiest part for most people. So as we're looking at page 105, this is where we're going to compare the two to find any discrepancies between the two. So our ultimate goal in this lesson is to get this number and this number to be the same by finding any errors of outstanding deposits, outstanding checks, or simple bank errors of numbers. So I think that page 105 and 104 just make it a little bit complicated. So we're just going to jump to E. And in E, we're going to be using both of these equations side by side, which is why you want to solve vertically instead of horizontally. So let's look at E. And I'm going to really track my work, and this is what you're going to need to do on the quiz as well. If you don't show your work, very seldom do you get the correct answer. So we're going to have the bank statement on this side, because they're going to be throwing a ton of numbers at us. And over here, we're going to have check register. Okay? All right, so going vertically. It says on January 30th, your check register balance, and that's the first thing we're going to have, is $107.87. And your bank statement balance was $161.96. So we can see right here, there is a discrepancy already of about $50. So let's see where that discrepancy was. It says interest earned of 43 cents and an ATM deposit of $56 also appeared on the statement, but that had not been recorded in the register. So in the register, we need to add our interest, and it also says that we need to add a deposit of $56 because it was not recorded in the register. It says you also find that check 307 for $35.29 had been recorded in the register as $32.95. So again, this is where the error kind of causes problems for us. So I'm just going to write it over here. So it was recorded as $35.29, or it should have been $35.29, but it was recorded as $32.95. So we're going to start first by finding the difference. Okay, so the difference is $2.34. So then we ask ourselves, was it recorded as too much or not enough? It was recorded as 32 when it should have been 35. So $35 should have been deducted from our check register, but only 32 was. So we need to deduct more money. So $2.34. So it doesn't say anything else about our bank statement. So let's just see if now we are reconciled. Ultimately, we want this answer to be the same as this answer. So let me see here. Plus 0.43 plus 56 minus 234. And it does equal. So we are reconciled. These problems are tricky because sometimes they give us all the numbers for the check register, sometimes all for the bank statement, sometimes for both. So you really need to write down your information as you go and keep really good track of it. So let's try F. F says at the end of October, Alan Springer's, let's just write BS and CR. At the end of October, his check register balance was $812.45 and his bank statement balance was $624.77. So again, these two numbers do not equal, so we need to reconcile them. An examination of his statement and check register showed that an ATM withdrawal of $200 had not been entered in the register. So this was a withdrawal, so we're going to subtract $200 that was not previously entered in the check register. Check 201 was outstanding, and check 202 was cashed but not recorded in the register. Reconcile the checking account. So it says check 201 was outstanding. Therefore, I believe it was not recorded on the balance statement. So we're going to subtract $92.49. And check 87 was cash but not recorded in the register. So we're going to subtract that on this side. Sometimes it takes some playing around. I'm like 92% sure that I'm doing this one correct. So let's check it out. I might have made a mistake. Let's see. 624.77 minus 92.49. This side we have 532.28. And on our check register side, all right, we got it. 532.28. Now the reason I wasn't positive was this number right here, but it did say outstanding, and so therefore I know that the check register, we already knew about it, and the bank statement did not, because we wrote the check. It's outstanding. It has not cleared the bank yet. So these two numbers are equal, so we know that we are done. You are done when the numbers equal each other. And it might take a few times to mess around with the numbers and put them in different spots, but if ultimately you need them to be the same. Okay, so this is a challenging lesson, but the more you practice, the better you get. So I'm going to just assign a few, and then there's a really good review of what we've already done as a part of this one as well. So you're going to do page 107, numbers 5 through 10. And then page 108, 20 through 28. All right.